gentlemen, once again, I want to thank you, all of you, okay, for obeying your time to attend today's SMIB training. And as always, it is a pleasure for me to share with you tonight. Okay, I just want to have a show of hands to see how many of you managed to attend Dr. Bigman's training. All right, well, there is like a reaction sign here. If you can actually just put a show of hands. All right, but it's okay. If you have attended, it's great. All right, but if you have not attended, it's all right as well. Okay, because I have personally attended, and I think from a scientific perspective, all right, it's not easy, okay, to be able to explain scientific terms, okay, complex scientific terms into easy and understandable. And I think Dr. Bigman really did a fantastic job. And not only that, his illustration is accurate. That's very important. All right, so he's able to do it in such a way that I thought it's really consistent and in line with what we have been doing for a long time, and which will continue to reinforce the message and the science behind Feel Great. And we thought it would be a great idea for us to use a bit of what he has taught and to restructure it in a way that will be easy for you to understand. And by the end of today, you'll be able to explain it in a way that you can also talk to your friends about it. Okay, so we hope that through this today's session, you will be able to have an accurate understanding about the science of our product and also easy to explain it to the people that you know. All right, so I'm really excited. I hope you are as well. Okay, please give me a moment as I share my screen. Okay, so before we begin, I think it's really important that we establish some foundations first. So I think by now, some of you may know what insulin, some of you may not. Okay, but we need to know exactly how does it work in our body. All right, so insulin is basically this hormone that's produced by this tiny little organ as we known as pancreas. Right? And the function of insulin, okay, it will be produced only when there is food, okay? If there's no food, by right, okay, your pancreas should not be producing any insulin, okay? And the purpose of this is to ensure that the sugar from your food can be utilized by yourself. This is very, very important, okay? Make sure you understand this concept, okay, as I will explain why. Okay, so from today, we will see how insulin will affect various parts of your body, and we start with the bloodstream first. Okay, many times when you look at the blood report, okay, blood is very high. So how exactly it happened? All right, so this is a typical pathway of how insulin would translate in our body. So first of all, there's insulin, okay, when there's food, all right, and then it will then, after your pancreas, you release into your blood. So even though insulin is your blood, doesn't mean that it will automatically go into your cell, not really, okay? So of course, this is really important. If not, your cells won't be able to function, okay? And of course, once your cell is able to utilize it, naturally your insulin level will go back to normal, okay? So problem will happen is if when insulin is there, it goes to your blood, it's fine. But for some reason, your cell cannot utilize it. So when your cell cannot utilize, what's going to happen? Your insulin is going to start, it will backflow. All right. So the insulin level will continue to go up, and it will cannot go into the cell, so it will continue to accumulate in your blood. It will backflow like how your house pipe is stuck. Okay, so your water will keep accumulating. It's the same analogy. All right, so this is when there will be a backflow of insulin and there'll be too much insulin in your blood. Okay, so this is when it becomes a problem. Okay, so this is exactly how it works in our body. All right, so like I said earlier, all of our cells, this is our cell, will have a receptor, okay, that our insulin can bind on it. Right, so if your insulin does not bind, then it will not be able to carry out its function. So in normal cases, for an insulin-sensitive cell, a healthy cell, this works fine. Okay, it will bind to the receptor site, it will produce an action, and it will then allow the glucose in your food or in your bloodstream to enter your cell. But there will be instances where there will be too much insulin, or we don't really exactly understand, but it will come to a point that your cell will be unable to respond to the action of insulin. Could be, high food intake, okay, with sugar and some other complex situation, and sometimes even a malfunction of your receptor site. Okay, there are many scenarios. But when that happens, your cell is unable to produce the necessary action when there's insulin. So as a result, okay, your sugar in your blood will continue to rise. It will continue to flood your bloodstream. And once it cannot enter, is when it gets dangerous, okay? So then your cell will be like, oh, I have no sugar, okay? Your cells are unable to utilize sugar. So you will keep knocking on the door of the insulin receptor. Hey, I need insulin, okay? So then your body will produce even more insulin to go to the door of your cell, to knock it open, so that your body will be able to process the insulin, okay? So once the insulin can go in, only your glucose can enter into your cell, all right? So if this persists and this happens over time, and as you know, insulin resistance does not happen overnight. It is always something that has happened over time, months, and even years. Okay, and this is how high insulin levels will be in your bloodstream. So when some cells are unable to respond to insulin, as I explained, this is where your body will have excess amount of insulin, okay, in your body. And this is what we call hyperinsulinemia, okay, where our body have unusually high amount of insulin levels. Okay, so insulin resistance, there are several causes that will lead to it. So stress is one of those things, lack of sleep, okay, they do contribute to it. Inflammation is also a cofactor, but nothing will trigger insulin resistance as direct as hyperinsulinemia. It is a direct cause to insulin resistance. Okay, it's the most straightforward and the most direct cause. So in order for us to manage this, the most direct thing that we need to do is to target on this. Of course, both of these are just as important, but tackling on insulinemia is our first utmost priority. Okay, so we have learned how this will then translate into our blood report. All right, when we look at, wow, when there's high sugar, high insulin, what does that mean? Now, do you know insulin also has a direct impact to our fat cells? Okay, and how exactly does that work? So this is how we eat typically, right, in a day, where, okay, when we eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, okay, this is how the graph of our insulin will look like. And this is if we eat 3 times a day, right? But we know that many times you don't just eat 3 meals a day. After breakfast, in between lunch and breakfast, we feel really hungry, so we eat something in between. After lunch, you know, we have to eat the dessert. Then after dinner, we go home, we watch TV, we eat another round. So this is how a normal person, okay, their insulin level will look like. And we are talking about those who have normal insulin levels, okay? Insulin sensitive person, your graph is like this. So can you imagine the impact that it would be for a person who is insulin resistant and how it will look like? So it will look abnormally high and it does not even have an opportunity to go down at all. And this is a classic case of insulinemia, and that can have a significant impact even to our fat cells. Okay, so when insulin is high, it has a direct impact to our fat cell. Insulin is basically a hormone that makes you fat because it acts as a fertilizer to your fat cell. So whenever we put in more and more insulin, your fat cell can take in more and more sugar and more carbs. So it will just make your fat cell bigger and bigger, all right? And your fat cell will just keep growing in size. And the danger about this is that it can expand up to 10 times. You know, if there is insulin, it will continue to expand up to 10 times bigger. And Dr. Bigman actually said this thing, which I find it quite scary in a sense. He did mention that Caucasian, the differences between Caucasian and Asian population. We always have this understanding that Asians are generally more healthy than Caucasian, right? Okay, the fat structure in Caucasian is this. They do have a lot of fat cells, okay, but the fat cell after a certain size, they will break off and they will split. So even though they have a high fat percentage, but their fat cells remain very small. But for us who is Asian population, for some genetic reason, our fat cell will expand really big. It does not split, okay, as much, but it will continue to become very big. until it will continue to reach out and to affect neighboring fat cells. So this is where the effect of insulin is more dangerous compared to a fat cell that splits, because it will spread, right? And this is what I mean. Okay, so imagine if your fat cell become really very big, it will have a limit. It cannot continue to be any bigger already. So your fat cell is like crowded. So then your fat cells will officially become insulin resistant. Okay, so once it is in this state, because of how big it is, it can spread its insulin resistance to neighboring organs, which I think is really quite bizarre. Okay, it has this ability to spread its condition to other sites like liver, pancreas, and muscle that has very little fat cell there. Okay, if even there they have these organs have low fat cells, but because of this fat cell there's a lot, it will affect. Okay, it has the ability to influence other organs to be insulin resistant. All right. So next, okay, after knowing how dangerous can fat cells be, that's the reason why we have to reduce our fat percentage. It can also influence our liver. So how? Okay, for you who do not know, liver is an organ that produces fat in our body. And 80% of our cholesterol, in fact, is produced by our liver. All right. And because of this, it also helps to contribute to our fat percentage and many other lipid indicators that we always do in our blood tests, okay, such as HDL. We know that HDL is beneficial for our body, okay, it does not clog our arteries. Okay, there's LDL and triglyceride, which is all small fat particles. So what it does is that once there is high insulin levels, not just only stimulate fat production, but it will make this whole lipid profile haywire. Rather than increasing HDL, it will then cause your HDL to be low, Insulin will affect this in your liver. So it's not just only about not eating enough omega-3, okay? It also has a direct impact, on your HDL. And it will then increase what shouldn't be increased, which is your LDL and your triglyceride. So when this happens, this is where when you look at your blood report, why are all these readings lining up? It's because of this factor. All right, and out of all this, okay, LDL is very directly correlated with heart issues. Okay, cardiovascular issues are usually connected to LDL. TG has as well, but lately, science tend to find a very close relationship with TG and sugar and insulin. So many times when a person has high TG, is very likely due to a close relationship with their sugar and their insulin levels. And because of this, that's why there is now a calculation that gives us an estimation of insulin levels. Because insulin in general is very hard to identify and it's very expensive to do the kind of additional tests. That's the reason why our lipid profile do not include insulin tests. Usually it will. Okay, so even though if you don't measure it directly, there is still a way for you to have an estimate. So here, there's this calculation where you can just use your TG against your HDL. And from here, you will be able to have a gauge about your insulin levels. All right, can give us a really good estimate. So if your TG is really high and your HDL is really low, this is where we are at risk of insulin resistance. So this is where we have different figures for different population group. So for black, it's less than 1. Means if they are less than 1, they are very at risk of, more than 1, sorry, they are very much at risk of insulin resistance. Asian and Caucasian is 1.5, and Hispanic and South Asian is 2. So if you are 2, you're considered high, and if you have 3, it's a very big problem already. So this is a gauge for us to know where we stand in terms of insulin resistance, and we do not want it to even be 2, to be frank. Okay, if possible, we want to keep the number 1 or as low as possible. So from this illustration, we get to see the effect of insulin, not just only affecting our blood and all, it can affect our fat cell and it can cause your liver to go haywire. So these are some of the most basic things, and once this is not being managed, this is where it's a starting point to many disease risks. Okay, many kind of disease risks, all starts with insulin resistance. So how can we overcome these problems? there are three very simple yet scientific principles that you can follow that can help you to overcome these setbacks, which is control carbs. We have to burn better, enable our body to burn fat better, and we have to fast frequently. So this is how a person's glucose level look like, okay? Your sugar level would be if you would just eat carbohydrate for 1 week. Frankly, we don't have to do this on purpose because our usual diet is full of carbohydrate. Breakfast, we eat rice, or fried noodles or something, or bread. Then lunch, we eat rice again. Dinner, we eat rice again. So actually, to be frank, we don't have to purposely go on this experiment. I think we are like that. All right. So if we eat like normal, this is our sugar, our glucose level. And our insulin, if we just do this for 1 week, it will increase up to 2.5%, you know. So if we continue on with this pattern by right, internally, we are already somewhat insulin resistant. Okay. So this is for those who do not do any intervention at all and eat like normal. So this is how our insulin and sugar level look like, right? So number one, we have to control carbohydrate. But the type of carbohydrate is very important. And frankly, it's very difficult for us to restrict this because for Asians, carbohydrate is very much ingrained in our culture. So there are some good carbs actually. Not all of them are a villain, but there are good carbohydrates such as fiber. So fruits and vegetables, they definitely, no matter what, would have a much better effect on our body if we were to compare it with all these other refined carbohydrates such as bread, cereal, rice, and sugar. Okay, it only has moderate effect, and in general, it's a lot better for us. So we have to focus on eating the good carbohydrate, which is fiber. All right. So don't just listen to this, but there are actually some pretty good scientific explanation to this, because they find that focusing on fiber, if we increase the amount of fiber in our diet, okay, and not just any other kind of fiber, but Unicity's fiber, all right? For us, we have extracted 6 different types of fiber, not just from one fruit, but 6 different types. And collectively, it is able to increase the amount of fiber in our body. And this over time can help to significantly reduce sugar and insulin dramatically. All right, so based on our studies, we can see a very significant reduction in insulin and sugar levels after taking Biostime S. So this is how it looks like without any S, okay? If you just eat like normal, this is how our sugar level would look like, insulin, sorry. So with S, it's able to bring it down significantly, all right? And it will lower the impact of carbohydrates in our body. So this is very, very important. Now, chlorogenic acid, which is found in Unimate, it can also have this effect, even though it's not directly fiber. Okay? It's reported that chlorogenic acid can significantly reduce glucose and insulin levels. And there are also many other studies of how it can reduce the impact of food in our body as well. So I think this is a really good additional evidence about how Unimate work synergistically with Biostime S. All right. So after controlling the insulin and sugar in our blood, we have to move into our fat, okay, because this is where it contributes to a lot of diseases. All right. So S can also help by increasing the total amount of fiber in our body. It is able to switch on, okay, because insulin reduced, right? It's able to activate back our fat burning capacity. Whenever our insulin is low, your fat burning capacity will immediately go up. Okay, there will be less fertilizer in your fat and it will immediately shrink down. So actually, Biostime S does also help in burning fat. Okay, and on top of that, chlorogenic acid also help in burning fat better as well. Okay, because in our cell, there is this thing called the mitochondria. Mitochondria is like the battery of our body. It is the main energy production site. So how does it utilize fat is this thing called CAT1. So in order for our body to utilize fat, you want to activate more of this CAT1. So it's able to take on the fat from your food and to utilize it as energy. So studies found that the more chlorogenic acid we have, we're able to activate more of this CAT1 in our mitochondria. So it is able to further burn even more fat. And the more CAT1 we have, it can even increase fat burning up to 24%. So this is very significant. And this can definitely help to increase our overall metabolic rate significantly as well. All right. And because of this ability, it is also able to reduce insulin and reduce sugar level in our blood as well. So Uni Mate also has the ability to reduce sugar and insulin in our body. Okay, and I also want to mention about this short chain fatty acid. Okay, in BIOS Life S, there are also short chain fatty acid. Okay, that is found. The fiber compound can also produce this same effect. And short chain fatty acid is known to increase our overall metabolic rate, that we can burn better. And it can further increase the mitochondria function in your cell, you know. So did you see? Okay, this is the new perspective about how BIOS Life S can further enhance our fat burning capacity. All right. And not just only that, because we talk about this, right, about the liver. And this is where BIOS Life S is able to reverse or improve some of these conditions. Okay, because we have fiber, this fiber is able to reduce insulin. So because of this, naturally, it helps to restore the fat balance in our body. It can bring back HDL into healthy levels and reduce LDL and TG that is harmful in our body. So BIOS Life S and Uni Mate have extensive benefits, and it targets significantly to our metabolic health. Last but not least, this is where the whole concept about fasting came about. All right, fasting, all right, can help to normalize our insulin and sugar levels. So this is how it looks like typically, okay, on a daily basis, like that. So if we can bring it to mini fast, for example, if you can't go for long fast, mini fast like 4-4-12 can help to bring down all those unnecessary wave in your insulin levels. And as we introduce all these things, okay, it can help to amp up our fat burning, okay, in the morning and as well as night. And even post-meal, all right, it can also still stimulate some of that fat burning. Okay, but if you can go even faster and even longer, all right, with 16 hours of overnight fast, it can amplify the effect of fat burning in our body. So for example, if you're really, if you're really keen on reducing weight or your insulin levels, okay, going for 16 hours would be really beneficial for you. Okay. So how do we manage hunger? All right, because fasting, the challenge about fasting, many people want to do fasting, okay, but the challenge is really the hunger, okay, and once they are in that state, they find it very difficult to follow through a 16-8 regime. So how do we achieve that is through, what we call theobromine. So this is a compound that's found in Uni Mate, okay, which we have a bit of a bitter taste there, right? So this bitter taste actually comes from this thing called theobromine. So this theobromine actually acts on the fat cell, all right, the fat cell in our gut cell to reduce appetite, because our fat cell will communicate to our brain and want us to eat even more. So it's able to control both of these main appetite center, and by reducing it, it can significantly help us to reduce hunger. This is the reason why many people on Uni Mate are able to feel like they don't have to eat anything, okay, because it helps them to reduce that craving. And not only that, okay, the short chain fatty acid, those fibers that we see in BIOS Life S, can also help to regulate our appetite and our energy in our body so that we don't feel so hungry. So don't you think it's amazing, okay, that how both of these products, BIOS Life S and Uni Mate, they share the same function, okay, from lowering our insulin, our sugar, to regulating our fat, and it can also help to reduce our hunger. And from this illustration, we get to see its harmony and its dynamic and how we cannot separate both of these. And there are reasons why BioSlife S is coupled together with Unimate and how it goes aligned with the 16-8 fasting schedule, right? And how both of these are just as equally important in your Feel Great program. Okay, so once we have all these three combined, we then can have a positive effect to our body. And once insulin is healthily regulated in your blood cell, it can then influence your fat cell. And once that's done, it can also influence your liver and to help you to restore back your health back to normal. All right. So everything starts from here. Okay, when we talk about insulin and sugar, this is one of the safest and effective science-based method that can effectively lower your insulin level. So we have learned through the science and why both of them are coupled together, and together with the 16-8, how this can restore your health and bring it back to how it should be. Okay, so we Feel Great, you'll be able to regain your health and you'll be able to take control. All right, so this is a very short re-emphasis about Feel Great and how the science line up together and how you can better explain it to people around you. Okay, so of course, if there's any question, please feel free to write in the chat group. Okay, then we will be taking questions, and if you need any clarification, please feel free, as I will take those questions as well. All right, so give me a moment as I grab a bit of a drink. Okay, all right, as I continue, I just want to, since this topic is about elevating your Feel Great practice, right? I do not want to just leave out that part, okay? The reason why I didn't put this in is because I don't want to overwhelm people with too much information, okay? But if you really want to find other products to boost your Feel Great, you can. Live fiber is one of those things, okay? If you put live fiber and probiotic together with your BioSlife S, okay, it can significantly bring your insulin level even more, because as we have learned earlier, fiber has a very significant impact in lowering your insulin level. So if we can amp it up a bit, put live fiber and probiotic into it, then it can help to further lower down your insulin level. So best is to take those two during your lunch and dinner. And if you're taking CoQ10, okay, that's also very good, because CoQ10 does boost our mitochondria, as we have learned. It's very important in increasing the CAT1, right? So if you do take CoQ10, is great for energy in your heart. You can also incorporate this in your Feel Great regime, because that will further help to increase that fat burning capacity. And if you don't have CoQ10, in Malaysia, you can take chlorospirina, okay, the vitamin B, and that's in there is able to also help to improve our mitochondria function as well. Okay, so these are just some fact on the side that you can take note to further boost the effect of Feel Great in your current Feel Great regime. All right. Okay. Yes, Mr. Anju. All right. Thank you for attending today's session. I think I've not seen you before. So the next training session, we'll have one in Singapore on the 10th of August. And subsequently on the 22nd, I think we're having another Zoom session that we'll be doing online as well. Okay, so the official poster will be released very shortly, and we'll be notified. You'll be notified about this. Okay, but before this, I think there is some questions. Great. I received some questions from here. Okay, all right. Yeah, there's this question here that says, can we ask Claudia how we can incorporate other Unicity products into our intermittent fasting, so that we do not break the fast and continue to enjoy the benefits of other products such as Live Fiber, Oasis, BioSlife E, and etc. Okay, I think this is a great question, and I think it's a very logical question as well as you go into, Feel Great. Okay, the basic principle is not, if you want to take anything during your fasting period, you cannot take more than 25 calories. Okay, and if you want to take 25 calories, you have to wait for at least 3 hours. So I understand sometimes you can eat everything. You cannot eat everything during the eating period sometimes, because it'll be too much at one go. So for example, if you really don't want to drink, like chlorophyll is relatively safe. It's only 8 calories, so you can drink that. It's fine. BioSlife E, if you want to drink that, you have to space 3 hours. Okay, so if you take uni mate like 6 a.m. So by 9, you can only take E, okay, because we do not want to exceed 25 calories. Oasis actually is only 20. 22, if not mistaken, okay, it's around there. So it's actually safe to take, but you have to wait 3 hours after taking your uni mate. Okay, so that's the basic principle. And live fiber actually is, because of the fiber compounds in there, the calorie is slightly high, is 30. So best to take live fiber together with your breakfast. And anyway, it works better with Fast Life S. Yeah. So that can really help to boost your fuel grade. And if possible, you can even incorporate protein, because protein is really important and it only has very minimal effect on your blood sugar. So yeah, Lean Complete or Quadplex, they work really well, and you can take that during the eating window. Okay, that'll be really great. Okay, yeah. So Farhana, question: hours skipping dinner, and if 16 hours skipping breakfast. Okay, I think this is a very good question, and this is relevant for those who are always on Muslim, Muslim fast and things like that, where sometimes the sleeping schedule is such, or their own lifestyle. Okay, but skipping dinner and skipping breakfast will have some biological difference. Okay, because when we sleep is when our growth hormone is the highest. Is when it's at night, is that time at night one, and our body has an internal clock one. We have this internal night clock that for some reason it will just sense, okay, if it's the night time, you have this clock that induces higher human growth hormone at night. So human growth hormone is related to higher fat burning. So of course, if you can do this at night, it will still be the best, okay, because we want to take advantage of that. The HGH is highest at night, and once you wake up in the early days of the morning. So fat burning capacity may be higher. But of course, if you cannot help it, and if you're fasting, your schedule is upside down, you will still observe benefits. I wouldn't say it's like totally you will not see it. You can still see the benefit, just that it depends on individual. Okay, some people, if they're on that, sometimes even in daytime they burn more energy, they may actually be able to see more results. It's hard to say also. But I would say generally, if you follow based on how our body would work, I would say that skipping the dinner, the usual when you sleep would be better than breakfast. Okay, but if your lifestyle does not permit, I think it's all right as well. You will still see results. Okay, so don't have to give up because of this reason. Yeah. Okay, so Sun An Puan did ask, can take the new chlorophyll which has spirulina. The spirulina content in chlorophyll is not going to be as much as chlorospirulina. Yeah, the dosage is not going to be as much because there's more like an added supplementary component that we add in. So definitely chlorospirulina 2.1 will have better effect. Okay, the concentration is a lot higher. So yeah, you can't really replace that. That would be my opinion. Okay, so you mentioned to have live fiber and probiotic during mealtime. What is the sequence before, after? But it's like S all together. The best is still to take before, together is best, yes. S, live fiber and probiotic, yes, that would be the best thing to be able to do it, yeah. Okay, a few great cup PD. Crystal Law has a question. What about Injuvinate? If take Injuvinate before sleep, will it break the IF? Not mistaken, I think Injuvinate calories is on the high side, I think it's like 60, not mistaken. I think this one, you have to take, yeah. You may, if you are taking Injuvinate on that day, then you have to consider that your fast will be, you have to break fast, means your fasting time will be extended. So for example, if you're eating at 7, right, then 2 hours, you may have to add on another 2 hours because the Injuvinate, the calories is 60, if I'm not mistaken. So that would break the fast actually. So but you don't take Injuvinate every day, so I think it's fine. And on that few days, you just have to do a bit of adjustment in your fasting time. You just have to eat a bit later, if that's the case. Or you can bring forward your dinner. Okay, but for example, your dinner is 7, you can bring forward 5. So then, that kind of thing, then 7. Or you can take Injuvinate on an earlier time. Best is to sleep earlier, right? Okay. Right, so I hope my explanation can help, all right? And about Injuvinate, I think the best if you can take like around 9, okay, 9 o'clock at night. So you can have like a shorter dinner or longer dinner. Actually, that doesn't really matter much as well. Okay. So yeah, so I hope my question answer you. So if you need more clarification, if for some reason I'm unable to answer you clearly, just write me an email, okay? Sometimes by explaining, we won't be able to explain it in detail. So please feel free to ask me anything, okay? So, all right, so if no question, then I'm gonna share details about the upcoming training. Okay, which is this insulin resistance, the metabolic problem and how to fight it. Okay, and you're gonna have a live session in Singapore, and this will be on the 10th of August. So I highly encourage you to come because physical session is always going to be different, and I'll be doing some changes on this current slide as well. So there will be some new content that we'll be doing on that day. So bring your friend along, okay? If you want to know more or ask more questions, okay, please feel free, and I will take questions on that day as well, and we're going to have a great time on that day. Okay, so I am really looking forward to see all of you on that day, and if you have any questions, as always, please feel free to reach out to me. So I appreciate all of you here tonight, and I can't wait to see all of you again, especially those in Singapore, all right? So yeah, thank you so much for your participation, and I can't wait to see you 2 weeks from now. Have a great night. Thank you. Bye.